that this is going to work for this first section is that Adam, Juan, and I are going to questions to the two candidates. They will each have a minute to respond, and after that, 3 to 4 minutes for rebuttal between them, alternating between whenever they want to raise their hand. We encourage the candidates to pose questions to each other. We do want this to be a debate, and we want to see a lot of engagement between the candidates. Having said that, let's start. So the first question, I'm going to start with a question, and it's, we're going to start with Stephen, because Ulysses spoke first on the introduction. And you have a minute to respond. And the question I have is, what is the one thing that you have done here at Cornell that uniquely qualifies you to this position over the other candidates?
Gotcha. When is the time start?
You can speak from there, or if you want to stand.
Sure. I'll stand. So you said the one thing I've done at Cornell that kind of like uniquely qualifies me to. Sure. So I would say, I joined the student assembly as a freshman, regretting the fact that I didn't run for student government as soon as I got to campus. And what I did to take advantage of that was join a lot of different clubs and a lot of different communities. The first one was the multicultural community, and joining 2 executive boards the first semester I got here. The second semester I was on campus, I joined a Greek community, and those 2 combined experiences with student government makes up the 3 pillars which I think defines myself. And that's involvement with the multicultural community, the leadership experience that I have in the Greek community, and then being a part of student government. People talk about social identity, and I think those are the 3 things that kind of define me. And when you're looking at a president that can actually represent every single undergraduate on campus and feels comfortable approaching different groups that don't look like them and that don't have the shared experiences with them, you can find that in myself. I'm passionate about connecting with people and bringing their ideas back to the table. So I have my own initiatives that I want to push, but being president, I sincerely believe, is not about me, but it's more about you. Thank you.
Right, so the one thing I've done here that really qualifies me for this position. Well, let's be completely honest. If you haven't noticed already, I'm gay. And I think the one thing that really defines me here, or has helped me here, is when I came out. Because that really helped me to understand myself. It made me appreciate my identity. It made me appreciate the value of intersectionalities here on campus. And that's why my leadership style reflects that. I have been very fluid in my style. I sit back, I actively engage students. I'm very evaluative. I like to actively listen. You will see that I have started the conversation of the student assembly surrounding diversity and inclusion. I'm sure you'll hear a lot of candidates tonight talk about diversity and inclusion, but nobody talked about that until I brought it to the forefront of the assembly's attention. I am the only student that sits with the university diversity officers, that sits at the diversity community meetings, that represents not only the student assembly, but the student perspective also here. I am, again, currently the vice president of diversity and inclusion, and that alone, getting that conversation started, and actually walking around and actually discussing these very difficult conversations with people really means a lot to me.
So let me push the 2 of you on that a little bit. So what you just told us are things that you've done on campus, but both of you, as you mentioned, have leadership positions on this campus that placed you in a unique position to influence policies. So to be a bit more specific, could you tell us one particular project or initiative that you think that you participated in that you feel particularly proud of? And we'll start with.
Wow, there's so many. If you look at my record, it's all over assembly.cornell.edu. I've passed a number of resolutions, about 21 to my name. And though it's not quantity that does it, it is the quality of those. Out of those, what really sticks out to me is, again, really just creating the Diversity Affairs Coalition. And that is a committee on this, a new committee on the student assembly that allows students and staff members from all the different colleges to come together and really discuss what it means to better incorporate diversity into the classroom experience. And that doesn't mean just in terms of content and academics. It also means talking about support services. It's not enough when the university continues to actively recruit people here from all different backgrounds and does not provide them with adequate support and resources for them to succeed when they get here. So that's been my main project, and a lot of the stuff I do really surrounds that.
60 seconds.
Sure. So one of the things that really resonates with me was as soon as I got onto the Student Assembly, I expressed interest in becoming the chair of the Joint Assemblies for Multicultural Issues Committee, now more recently known as SACIDI. Back then it was called JAMIC. And the one initiative that I led at the end of my sophomore year was creating student input on the University Diversity Council. So that's one of the things that Ulysses has touched as well. It's a group of 5 people who have influence over employees, faculty, and students. And what I realized, along with the LGBTQ rep, partnering with him, we proposed the student input, the student initiative that gave all 14,000 undergraduates voice. And we proposed initiatives and projects to work on for each administrative unit on campus on behalf of the students, and in line with what they proposed as well. So we proposed different initiatives based on achievement, composition, diversity, things that we knew that students would value and that would be important. And from there, I know that a lot of the things that I've done have grown from that seed that I planted just my sophomore year. Thank you.
So let me heat up the debate a little bit on exactly the same issue, and kind of the second part of my question is, do you think you've done anything that the other person has been deficient in, or that you do particularly well that the other candidate does not? So why do you think that you're the best choice for this position?
Sure. So I'm definitely not the person to cast anyone in a negative light, and I'm going to keep this as positive as possible. I think the one thing that we have to realize is that the Student Assembly encompasses every single community on campus. And the one thing that I think I excel at, right up to my opponent, is bringing different opinions and different point of views from every single community on campus. It's not just one community that I affiliate myself with, but going to and approaching other organizations that I think I excel at. You know, if you look at it from a different point of view, with that UDC resolution that I proposed at the end of my sophomore year, we went to different groups. It wasn't just the Greek community, and it wasn't just the umbrella orgs that we went to. We also went to Haven. We also looked at other organizations to seek that input and create results that we knew could be tangible from the administrative point of view, but also something that we could push from the SA.
I do want to keep this as positive as possible, but I do think we need to acknowledge some facts. We need to acknowledge the fact that, one, that is not the structure of the University Diversity Council, and a lot of these things that, it's interesting to me that my opponent mentions diversity and inclusion and wants to talk about these things when, if you look at the minutes from October, when we were creating the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, when you look at creating the Students of Diversity Affairs Coalition, both of my opponents actually spoke out against both of those resolutions. They actually voted against both of those resolutions, and those are two very big venues where we were attempting to give students a better voice, all students a better voice, and all these different venues. And so again, I think I have really done a great job here in actively engaging students. And I think we should really press the question of what exactly active engagement is and how we have done that on this campus, and how we can continue to further that mission here going into the next academic year.
So the reason I opposed those resolutions is because I looked at what the Student Assembly was there for, and I knew that I didn't want to set the precedent that we needed a VP of Diversity Inclusion as an actual position. I think, and I personally believe, that we should be instituting diversity initiatives throughout the entire Student Assembly without needing the VP position to push that. It should be ingrained within the culture of all 27 undergraduates who serve on that assembly, and that's why I was against that resolution.
Moving on to the second question of the presidential debate, and thank you guys very much for being respectful to each other in the last one. What is one thing, excuse me, what is the greatest failure of this year's Student Assembly, and what would you do differently as president?
Well, it is no secret that I have been a very open critic of this assembly. Actually, of the assembly on all 4 years. And I do think that the biggest pillar of my platform is exactly the failure that I think we've seen, and that is actively engaging students. I actually study participatory governance structures, and that is really what I pride myself on, is that I understand these models. And I really, truly believe and it's the same thing my opponent touched on, is the mission of this assembly. I truly believe in it. And I don't think this year we have done as good of a job as we could have in actively going out to different communities and effectively reaching out and effectively garnering opinion. We do a lot, we ask a lot of our communities in terms of contribution, where we have pet projects and initiatives and preset goals, and we go out and we find a person who agrees with that, we bring them in, and we allow them to respond. But what we don't do is provide a lot of community empowerment. We don't give a lot of attention to stakeholders in terms of actively empowering them to be in that decision-making process.
Sure. I'm going to agree with my counter on that. I definitely think that it's more about looking at the different organizations and seeing what they can bring to the table. I do want to actually propose some tangible ideas and initiatives that we can actually act on. Looking at the essay this past semester, and currently I think we passed a lot of internal resolutions. But I really want to focus on what organizations and what different perspectives and ideas can bring to the table. What's a resolution? What's the piece of legislation that the essay kind of passes? Like, what is that about? Perhaps holding information sessions to different organizations to see just exactly how we act and how you can make a tangible difference. So that's just one example of what I would actually do as president to ensure that all groups on campus are equally represented.